let's educate our people that no one talks to God. Let's just put it as bluntly as all that. If someone says to you, God was talking to me, tell them to go to the psychiatric ward.
Quite a lot is happening. So like now we're actually facing something that is seemingly going to be a restriction on the exercise of religion in South Africa. It's widely there on TikTok. Mrs. Mkhwana is actually making out statements that are furious and upset, such that no one talks to God. Now, I want you to actually get to listen to this video. A sister who's part of our Bible teaching group sent me this video. It's quite interesting. I didn't know that Rhema Bible Church is actually involved in this CRL thing, and this government agenda is actually being perpetrated through Rhema Bible Church. Now, something that is interesting is this. I remember many years ago that I was watching a talk show guy, Nolene. Maybe some of you will remember Talk with Nolene. And in that show, there must have been 3 pastors, if not 4. One of them was Pastor Mboro, as well as Pastor Ray Mekoli. Pastor Mboro was always... During that show, Pastor Mboro was just Mboro as you know. He was how he is now, contrary to how he started in ministry. The interesting part is that Nolene was raising the issue. I tried to look for the video on the internet, I couldn't find it. And Nolene was raising the concern to say that, is there any such thing that people can really hear from God? Is there any healing in the church, or people can really hear or see from God? The interesting part is that Pastor Ray Mekoli spoke against that. This was at that moment where Pastor Ray Mekoli actually spoke against it, that he doesn't actually believe in that. Now, here's something that is interesting. I might not agree with Pastor Mboro on so many things, but this is one of those moments where I agreed with him. He spoke that he actually believes that God does speak today, and that there's actually healing through the name of God that actually takes place in the church today. And all the other pastors were agreeing on that, and Pastor Remy Koli was alone in that. And Mboro turned to Pastor Remy Koli and said, Pastor Ray, you amaze me. Apparently, Mboro actually was one of those people who were influenced by Pastor Remy Koli. We know that Rema really actually did influence Christianity to a big scale in South Africa. So a lot of these great pastors, Bo Musa Son and others, actually come from Rema. And then Mboro looked at him and said, you are the very same person who brought us this doctrine that you today are actually speaking against. And I remember that many years ago, I read a book by Pastor Ray Mekoli where he spoke about the gifts of the Spirit. And in one of those encounters, he actually spoke of a story of a person who actually fell in one service, and then the head kind of cut through. I think it was a corner of a table or something, and then it was split apart. And it was same Pastor Ray Mekoli in that book who stated that they prayed for the person and they saw a miracle right in that moment where it came together and the head was healed instantly. Now, it's interesting that Pastor Ray Mekoli had turned against it. So maybe this is my suspicion. I might be wrong, it's me suspecting. It's my suspicion. Pastor Ray Mekoli has went through, I think, 3 intense situations with a heart condition to a point that he had to have surgeries 3 times. Maybe because of the experiences. This was later because the books were written and those teachings he spoke about the gifts of the Spirit were in the 80s. Now, just during the millennium, in the 2000s, he had, I think, about 3 heart problems, and then he went through surgeries, and all of these accounts, things went bad for him. Maybe this is one of those moments where he turned up because he tried to pray to God and he wasn't healed. Maybe he turned against God and said, God doesn't heal. Well, he didn't really turn against God. He remained preaching, but he turned against healing. I think maybe because of that, he must have tended to be a cessationist, not longer believing in the gifts of the Spirit. So maybe I'm wrong. It might be that or something. Now, let's get back to this. So it's interesting that now Rhema is actually getting to spearhead this, which was the most influential church in South Africa, is beginning to spearhead this movement of the CRL, where the woman says that God does not speak to no one. I want you to actually hear this statement from this pastor. I can never agree less with what he's saying.
Rhema Church and Pastor Joshua, who is now the leader of the Rhema Church in Randburg. And this is all about the CRL committee that's launching. Listen what I'm saying. It's launching, and I got it from one of my political friends. He sent me the message to say that the CRL committee, the woman that said that no one speaks to God, they are launching the CRL committee in Rhema Church. That one of the biggest churches in South Africa is backing this, where the government wants to regulate the Church of Jesus Christ, where the government wants to come in and tell you what you are allowed to preach, and censor you on what you are saying. Guys, this is the beginning of trouble and tribulation for the church. So if you don't heed my call this morning, and if you don't heed this live, because I think this is one of the most important lives I've made. I have made a live on this before, and I'm telling you this morning that this is one of the most important lives I've ever made. Okay, so guys, be careful. The government is using the same tactic as what Hitler used. He's using the church to fight against the church. They are using the church's credibility against itself. All right, so because they are launching it in Randburg on the 2nd, I think the 2nd is Wednesday. Where are we now? Tuesday, Thursday, I think it is. So I will be at Rhema on Thursday, the 2nd of October. But I just want to show my utter disgust at Rhema Church. And Rhema can do whatever they like this morning. I know they might even come after me. I don't know. Let's see what happens. I studied at Rhema. All right. I was at Rhema Bible College when I was a youngster. The CRL committee is the committee that wants to regulate the church. They want to regulate, Pastor, what you preach. They want you to register on a register, and then they want to give you a license to preach. So you can go to Bible school, you can have a calling on your life, you can do nothing unless the government tells you you can do it. Okay? So be careful and be warned, guys. The church is going down the same route as it did in the Second World War. What is the solution to this? The solution is non-compliance, guys. Don't go and register. They can launch it, they can do whatever they like, but do not register yourself. Because the minute the first guy registers himself with the CRL, you are giving them the mandate to come after the church. So I am earnestly warning you. We don't have a lot of time. There's 2 days when the launch is taking place.
I'm actually agreeing with what he's saying, to say that as the church now, apparently, let me not forget that it is said that there's going to be a march on the 8th, which is October, 8th of October. So there's going to be a march in Pretoria concerning Christians, for the need to be free to exercise our religion of choice. Because what is coming is unconstitutional. For the mere fact that now we cannot be able to say God speaks, and then on top of that, the church be merged with the state now has full control to what the church could do. That is actually wrong, because if you look at this, let's talk about all these sangomas and the things that are happening. Let's talk about these things that sangomas are doing. I'm talking about Bobab Ketleles and so many others who spring about Ubutwala and stuff, advertising and social media, YouTube and all of that. No one talks about that. There's children that are disappearing, there's human trafficking and everything, but now that people, they don't even want to challenge that, but they want to make a stance on the church. Yes, we know what there's been corrupt pastors, a lot has happened in the church, but let's actually try to deal with this first, and then when we see what this is actually dealt with, I believe that we should actually now make strides towards dealing with these falsehood that have been perpetuated by Christian channels and podcasts. they have a hand in this, because these things of Bo Joshua lying about the raptures and many Christians believing these things, this also we should actually deal with it. But first, let's deal with this at first, and then after that we resolve to actually deal with this, because Christians, come on, we cannot always keep on this way. Let's stand on that to say we're not going to register, we're not going to stand for that. So we're not going to actually register, we're not going to be part of that. Let's stand against that. Let's revolt against that, because it is just wrong. This seems to be history repeating itself. State and religion never worked hand in hand. Because please try to Google the Dark Ages. You will see when the church was controlled by the state, the horrible and dark things that happened. We're talking about the Crusades, because this thing is just uncalled for. They are trying to actually restrain us from even the freedom of speech. We will have to send sermons through them for them to actually approve what I must teach in the church, not to actually teach what I feel I should say, or say that which is biblical or in the Bible. So they want to regulate and tell us what to preach. There's an agenda that is going on, and it seems as if it's not only in South Africa. This agenda is going on. It seems like there's something that our leaders behind the scenes are busy cooking. Right now, we even heard about a digital ID that is being introduced in the UK. There are some people who are even marching on the streets, protesting that at the moment. Please, saints, try to share this video and make many people be awakened to what the government is trying to do in South Africa. We've got a lot of nasty things that the government should be looking into. There's a lot of corruption and crime in our country. There's a lot of children that disappear. There's a lot of things that are happening that the government should actually mind, which are really essential when the church doesn't even actually, contribute much to the things that are actually happening in society. Yeah, there's a lot of sangomas as well with body parts that have been discovered. I think the government is beginning to actually look where it's not supposed to look. Or it might be that the government is actually trying to pull up something, and whatever we see that is coming, it's not good, because it seems that this is an attack to the church. And trust me, saints, it seems that something big that the government is trying to do against specifically us Christians who call on the name of Jesus.